Hello guys, and welcome to episode 4 of the How to Make an FPS in Unity tutorial series. Now yesterday somebody in our Discord server requested that we make this episode where we have have a system where our player can enter vehicles. So if you guys also want to make requests on future episodes, whether it's the FPS series or RPG series or even Dank Memer series, feel free to comment below or just join our Discord server and message me directly. So with that said, let's get started on what we're doing today. So the first thing that we're going to do is let's define what we're going to be basically doing. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making like a basic switch system between our player controller and our vehicle controller. So if your vehicle doesn't already have a controller attached, this will not work, so you're going to have to be making a working car first. I'm also not going to be making any animations mostly because it's like a first person. If this was a third person game, we would probably have to have some animations or it would look very unnatural. Because it's a first person, we can just make a switch between the controllers. Now I'll also show you guys what I mean when I say the car has a controller. So if I add a camera to the car and I make this a main camera, and you can see I also have disabled the player. If I just press play, whoops, this will not work because the camera is not looking at the car. It is in a very weird angle. If I just press play now, you can see that the car can move around and it even comes with some sounds. So if you're wondering how I got this car, it is from the standard assets that we got, the same place that we got our player from. So yeah, it's just in the vehicles folder and you guys can get this anytime you want. So if you guys already have your own car or you guys want like a mech suit or like a plane, then this system will be very customizable. So as long as it has a controller, this will be able to work. So with that said, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to right click and create a C# script. And we're just going to call this enter vehicle or something generic like that. Basically just call it whatever you want. And I'm going to enter this script, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of this. And I'm going to I'm actually going to enable the player. So let's actually just enable the player. And we're also going to disable the camera, and we should also unpack this from the prefab if you guys are using the same car prefab. If you're not, then you still want to disable the camera that is attached to the car. And basically, let's go to the main camera, and you can see here that we are at our player. So I'm going to create a big cube around the player, and this will act as a trigger. So I'm just going to make this, let's say 5 by 5 by 5, and I'm going to turn isTrigger on, and also I'm going to turn off the mesh render. And now I'm going to attach this script to the trigger, and when I click back into the script, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say void on trigger, if I can spell trigger right, enter, and we're just going to say if other.tag is equal to vehicle. So now what we're going to do is we have our vehicle script, or we have a check that detects if an item is a vehicle. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to make our car have a basic box collider, so we can't just walk through it. I believe it already has a lot of mesh colliders, but I'm just going to make a big extra box collider just to make sure. So I'm just going to make this like a bit taller, so let's say like 5, or let's make it 3 by 4, and this can be 3. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new tag to the game. So we can press on this tag button and press add tag, and I'm going to press this plus button, and it's going to say vehicle, or whatever tag you chose to use as your check. In my case I chose vehicle. If you guys chose like car, then you guys can use car as well, or mech suit or plane, doesn't matter. So now we have a check. Why is the car in the player tag? It should be the vehicle tag. So I'm going to make a print statement in here just to make sure that this works. So we can just say print yes, or I guess in our case, yes. And I'm going to check him out, just click on my console tab so that when I press play, I can check if this works. Alright, our car is also flying, which is something we're gonna fix later. But yeah, so we now know this works. Also, I think that's because the collider is very big, so we can just make this like maybe 2 and raise this. Yeah, it is really big. That is why. So I guess we can make this 1, and yeah, just make this like 0.3, or maybe 1.3. Sorry, 0.7. There we go. That should work now. Yeah. So now we know that our trigger works. What we can do is we can create another script, and we can call this vehicle script. So this script is something, I spelled it wrong. See, I can't spell. But you're gonna want to attach the script to every single vehicle that you have in the game. So in my case, I'm gonna attach it to the car, and we're just gonna enter the script. Alright guys, so basically now that you're inside the vehicle script, what you want to do is you basically just want to type in a couple of variables. So for me, for this specific car, I'm going to want to type in, let's see, for this specific car, I'm going to want to be typing in every single script that controls the car. So we have car controller, car user controller, and car audio. For you guys, you might have different scripts, and that's basically what you guys want to type in. So for me, I'm just going to type public, whatever this script is called. Let me just find it. Public car controller. Nope, it's not in here, and that is probably because this car controller script is using a namespace, and I'm right. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put that in, and we're just gonna say public car controller, as well as every other script that is on there. So yeah, again, your car or vehicle or plane is going to have different mechanics or scripts, so you're going to have to want to put different scripts here into the script. So I'm just going to type that down, and finally car audio, so we can just type public car audio, and then we're going to want to reference the camera, so public camera cam, and we can just change this to say, because it's already audio is already like used as a variable name, we can just say like odd or something like that as a replacement for audio. And what we can say is we can say public void, so we're just going to create a new function, and on public void enter car, what we can say is we can just say controller dot set active dot enable, is equal to true, user control, so we're just going to enable everything that makes the car work. And we're also going to enable the audio, so odd.enable true, and we're also going to enable or set the camera as active. GameObject.set active, sure. And yeah, so basically now we're going to go back into the scene, and we're just going to just disable all of these. And then what we're going to also want to do is we also want to disable the camera that is attached with this, which is already disabled. Great. So now we can just drag in this camera, and we can also drag in all of these scripts. Now you can just set them as like auto grab them with get component, but you can also just do this, just manually drag it in. And yeah, and now basically what we want to do is we just want to go back into the script, and we're just going to go into the enter vehicle script, and we're just going to delete that, and what we're going to type is we're just going to say var vehicle script is equal to other dot get component vehicle alright, because we don't have the namespace, so we're just gonna have to drag in this namespace for this script as well. And yeah, so we're just gonna say other.get component vehicle script, and then what we can just say is we can just say we have to store some sort of variable for the player, so public game object player and public game object camera. And now we're just going to disable the camera and the player, so camera.setActive false, and player.setActive false, and then we're just going to do vehicle script. Oh, I spelled it wrong, that's why it's not showing up. Dot, what was the function called? Enter car. There we go. And yeah, that'll pretty much work. Actually no. So what we want to do is we also want to, I forgot to do something. What we need to do is we need to create a trigger. So we have to say public text. So we also have to, or let's just say game object, text, our trigger text. And basically this is going to be a trigger text. I don't believe we made a trigger text for our FPS game yet, so we're just going to make that real quick. And we're just going to reference the TM Pro library, and what we're going to say here is we're just going to say trigger text dot get component text mesh pro UGUI, and then what we can say is dot text is going to be equal to enter vehicle, and then what we can say is if input get key down key code dot E, if the player presses the E button, then we're just going to do all of this stuff inside that we just created. Also, we should probably type instead of just enter vehicle, we should probably also type enter vehicle, or no, press E to enter vehicle. And yeah, God, sorry. And yeah, that's pretty much it for our first script. So yeah, now we just have to create a canvas, which I believe we already have, and we can just create a text for our pick trigger text. And of course, you're gonna have to import all the TMP essentials if you don't already have them. But essentially, we can just come to the middle. And the reason we use TMP instead of normal text, by the way, is because if we use Text Mesh Pro, the text won't be stretched, or not stretched, but like have weird resolution issues, because Text Mesh Pro is just always going to be crisp, which is what I like about it. So we can just say press E to do stuff, and I guess this is going to be how big I want it to be, like as big as it should be, and it's going to be called trigger text. I'm also going to set it as not active, and also we should probably make it so that trigger text dot set active is true. And also on trigger exit, we should also set trigger text to be false. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So now we can just go into our player, which has the script. Inside the cube, we can drag the player in here, drag the camera in here, and drag the trigger text in here. So if we just walk up to the car, we should see a trigger appear. There we go. Press E to enter vehicle, and if I press E, okay, you know what? I'm gonna make the trigger a bit bigger because I see it's kind of glitching in and out. So I'm just gonna make this trigger. Oh, I think I know the problem. Okay, I'm gonna have to make this one by one, and then let's just edit the transform instead of the actual trigger, and then we can turn off the mesh render, and then we can try. I don't think that's a problem, but for some reason it's glitching out. Yeah, there we go. Oh wait, and I'm pressing E, but for some reason I can't seem to actually click. You know what? Okay, so let's make some print statements to check what's wrong. Oh wait guys, I realized I made a mistake. We should actually make this on trigger stay instead of on trigger enter, so we can actually detect the inputs. Otherwise we won't be able to detect the inputs. But anyways, now everything should work. So if we walk up and press E, there we go, I'm in the car. And now we just have to make an exit system. So now basically what we have to do is when we do press E, we just have to set trigger text to be false. And when we want to exit, what we're going to want to do is we're just gonna have a void update here that's just gonna detect when the player presses a certain key. In my case, I'll just make it E, just for simplicity's sake. So we do input get button down, or get key down, key code dot E. Then we're gonna call an exit card function, which will do the exact same thing here, except it will reverse everything. So set the controllers as false and set the camera as false. And we're also going to create a new variable for the player. So we're just going to say public game object player. Let's just create another camera, so player cam. And what we're going to do is we're also going to say basically player set active true, as well as player cam set active game object set active true. I believe we set the object as false here. Yep, we did. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that should pretty much make this whole thing work. Of course, I'm not gonna have any way. The player in this game, in our game that we're making with the tutorial series, will not know to press E to exit the car. So you guys will probably have to like add some text in the screen to indicate that, you know, press E to exit car. But that's a pretty simple fix, and I think you guys are good enough at Unity now to actually be able to do it. Right, so we're having a problem here. Yeah, so how we're gonna fix this problem is because both of these inputs are E, and it's constantly checking for the input of E. What's happening is as soon as we enter the car, we're just exiting. So we might actually have to change this to like B or something. I'm just gonna make it B, but for you guys, just make it to any other key other than E. Yeah. So now if I press play, I'm in the car. If I press B, I'm at the car. And also, there's a big noise that, and also I think the car is shaking for some reason. But if I believe this should be a camera problem. So I think basically what happened is that yeah, there we go. So the audio source started playing. So that's another thing we need to fix. So when we exit the car, we're just gonna have to say we have to reference a new audio source reference. So public audio source, and then we can just type source.stop. And that should be pretty much it. So now we can just drag in our audio source. Where is our audio source? Okay, so we don't actually have the audio source. I think what happens is it adds a component of an audio source. What we can say is source is equal to get component audio source. So we're just grabbing the audio source in real time, and now then we just stop it. And also what we have to do is we have to set the player's position as a specific exit car position. Because if we drive off with the car and we press B, here, you know what, I'll just show you guys. So if we press play and we walk up to the car, currently what's going to happen is I drive a bit and I press B, I'm still going to be here. Even though the car like left like a long ways. And also the audio source isn't getting grabbed for some reason. Okay, we'll fix that later. But the problem here is the player isn't following the car when we exit. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to create a new transform called player exit position. And basically what we can say is player.position, player.transform is literally just going to be equal to the exit player exit position. Sorry, I'm going to make this actually, yeah, okay, we're just going to set the position actually. So dot position is going to be equal to player exit position dot position. And yeah, that should be pretty much it. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to create an empty on the right or left side of the car, depending on which side of the car you want the player to be exiting from. And we're just going to drag it to the right and drag it up a little bit and that should be where our player is going to be spawning in. I also see an audio source, so maybe that indicates that our audio source isn't just coming in from actually, I don't know much about this car controller, so sorry about I'm gonna have to do some editing here. So if we go into the car audio script, let's look at what this says, and we can determine where our audio is. Oh, so there's a very nice stop sound function, or there should be. Yeah, so okay, so there is a stop sound function. So yeah, let's actually just call this stop sound function. Let's make this a public function. Of course, you guys can skip this part because you guys probably aren't using the same vehicle as me. So yep, I'm just gonna do some car audio.stop sound. So odd.stop sound, and yeah, now I think this should work. Also, we have to remove this because this is irrelevant now. And now, yeah, should work. So when we press play, what's going to happen? Oh, we forgot to drag in our transform. So our transform is right here. Now we drag it in, and now we can press play, and everything should work. So if we go in, press E, and then we press B, there's no more sound, and I've exited at the right position. So let's just test that again. I'm going to drive off the map, and if I exit, I'm also off the map. So that's great. Yeah, the only problem now I see is that the particles still appear. So let's actually look at the particle script. There must be a script that controls the particles. Yep, the car controller. And if we look for the particles, yeah, I'm just doing this, guys, just in case you guys are using the same controller and you guys just want to like, you guys just want to follow along. You know what? I'm not gonna worry about the particles, because I think it's okay. But anyways, those are the steps. So for a quick recap, it's just you have to create a script on a collider over the player that detects when a car is near, and if it is, you're going to be grabbing a vehicle script. Now your vehicle script will be whatever you want. It has to be called vehicle script. Well, it doesn't have to be, but like if you're going to reference a vehicle script in your enter vehicle script, then you probably should call it vehicle script so that everything matches up. And these, you need to reference every single script that controls the car and how it moves, and the camera that is with the car. And then you just have to drag all of them in as variables here. You have to reference the player camera, and basically, essentially, it's just a very simple switch. So you're just switching between one controller and another controller. And when you exit the car, you're basically just spawning the player towards the exit position. And also, you guys should probably have some text that will appear on the screen when you're driving that shows you your mileage, whatever. But this isn't like a racing game tutorial. I'm just making, you know, an FPS tutorial. But yeah, thank you to the person, by the way, who recommended this. I think it's a good idea. And if you guys have any other suggestions for future episodes, don't be afraid to leave them down in the descriptions below. With that said, I'll see you next time. Bye.